Hey friends, just a quick note. This video is for educational purposes only. What if the real key to understanding the Beast of Revelation isn't in Greek at all, but hidden in the ancient Hebrew writings? What if a hidden pattern in the Hebrew text connects fallen angels, ancient empires, and the chaos we're seeing in the world today, tying all three together in one line? For centuries, most Christians have been unaware of this, because the key is buried inside the original Hebrew text itself, woven into a network of words, numbers, and hints. Today, we're going back to those ancient scriptures to uncover this secret Hebrew cipher that operates behind the Beast of Revelation. Think about it. Empires have risen and fallen. Unseen forces have steered history from behind the scenes. All of this was recorded as signs inside these very scriptures. Once you see this pattern, you won't be able to unsee it. By the end of this journey, you'll understand that returning to the original Hebrew isn't some dry academic habit. It's a matter of spiritual survival. Many American Christians are content with just the Greek text or modern translations. But the Hebrew roots bring a depth to these prophecies that lands directly on our current moment. The ancient scrolls, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, reveal things about power, prophecy, and the battle for our souls that shake our understanding. These are not just words. They are glimpses into heavenly warfare. We're going to look into these Hebrew indicators. And I promise you, no cheap sensationalism, no shallow horror story, only truths drawn from the word itself. Truths that ultimately point to the final victory of Christ. So what is this Hebrew cipher? Welcome to Understanding the Word. I am Pastor Najim. Imagine a secret map. Its pathways are hidden in a code of letters and numbers, and that code only fully opens up in Hebrew. In Hebrew, letters are not just sounds. They also carry numerical values and connect to root meanings and related concepts. Those connections sometimes expose surprising realities behind what look like very ordinary words. Take the word Nachash, for example, the word for serpent. Its numerical value and structure have long been associated with deception and seduction. Then Nephilim, which comes from the root naphil, meaning to fall. The word itself points toward beings who have fallen or been cast down from their original place, creatures who broke the boundaries God had set. Many Hebrew scholars believe these links are not accidents. They point to a deliberate, divine order and wisdom in the text. That's why, when we get to the book of Revelation, just sticking to the Greek words leaves the picture incomplete. The Greek word for beast can sound like an ordinary living creature. But when you put the Hebrew background back in place, your mind is pulled to Ezekiel's strange living beings, creatures that were once around the throne of God, or to monstrous forces rising up out of the deep. For the Hebrew mind, the word for sea, yam, is not just a big body of water. It carries the idea of a chaotic, untamed depth, an ocean that becomes a symbol of disorder and hidden darkness. So when Revelation talks about the beast coming up out of the sea, that's not just scenery. To someone shaped by the Hebrew scriptures, this is a picture of a dark force rising out of the chaos, out of the deep yam. Here, the hidden connection between fallen angels, heavenly rebellion, and the appearance of the beast starts to come into view. Now picture yourself sitting in a cave in front of ancient scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls laid out in front of you. The ink has faded, the leather is worn, but the words are still alive. As you read, you begin to notice that the very same concepts, the very same words and symbols are echoed later in the passages that describe the beast in Revelation. It's as if different periods of history are just different echoes of the same heavenly story. Most of the time, we are satisfied with short sermons or surface-level explanations. But when you step into this web of language, numbers, and text, prophecies that felt confusing for years suddenly blaze with a new light. And the story doesn't stop with just the words themselves. Now we come to the part about fallen angels, the first major shock in this entire picture. In Genesis 6, just a few verses give us what looks like a small, strange episode. The sons of God come into the daughters of men, and from them the Nephilim are born. But when you look beneath those words into the Hebrew meaning, you realize this goes far beyond a mere physical relationship. Beni Elohim, sons of God, refers to heavenly beings associated with the divine council. They abandon the boundaries appointed to them and come down. On earth, they produce a generation that becomes the symbol of violence, domination, and corruption. Ancient Jewish traditions, especially the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, expand this idea in much more detail. They were told that the Watchers, the guardian angels, descended. They began teaching humans things that were never meant for ordinary human hands: how to forge weapons from iron and metals, occult practices, spells, and sorcery, methods of adornment and beauty designed to seduce and deceive hearts. It appears that in exchange for secret knowledge, they grabbed for power. They bent the natural order of the world into a system of control that stood in rebellion against God's design. According to these same ancient traditions, the spirits of these fallen beings didn't just disappear. They remained in the world as an unclean, corrupting presence. Spirits that influence the behavior of nations, the rise and fall of empires, and the rebellion of rulers against God. In Daniel chapter 10, when the angel Gabriel comes to Daniel with a message, he's opposed by a spiritual power called the Prince of Persia. Gabriel is held back until Michael, one of the chief princes, comes to help him. That scene makes it crystal clear. Behind earthly nations, there are more than just kings and political systems. There are hidden spiritual princes at work over them. Now take that reality and lay it alongside the picture of the beast. If fallen angels have been meddling in human history like this, if they've been twisting empires through knowledge, power, and deception, then should we be surprised that the Beast of Revelation is not just a single man? It is the living embodiment of all these rebellions, a force that's been moving across the ages, sometimes wearing one mask, sometimes another. In Daniel chapter 7, the prophet sees a terrifying dream. 4 beasts come up out of the sea, the same Yam, the chaotic deep. The first beast is like a lion, symbolizing the greatness of Babylon. The second is like a bear, pointing to Medo-Persia. The third is like a leopard, echoing the speed and spread of the Greek Empire. Then comes a 4th beast, so dreadful and terrifying that Daniel doesn't even have the words to fully describe it. It has iron teeth. It tramples and crushes everything. It has 10 horns. This is a picture of the harsh power of Rome. But that's not the end of the vision. Among those 10 horns, another small horn rises up. It uproots 3 of the horns and begins to speak boastful words and wage war against the saints of God. Here, Daniel shows us a pattern. The beasts are not just animals. They are the visible faces of invisible powers, spiritual forces working behind empires and kingdoms. When we come to Revelation 13, John gathers all of Daniel's images into one monstrous figure. The beast there has features from all 4 of Daniel's beasts, and the dragon, Satan, gives this beast his power, his throne, and great authority. Now Daniel's 4 beasts have been merged into one ultimate beast. That tells us something. The beast is more than one time period, more than one empire. It's the recurring, concentrated manifestation of the same ancient rebellion against God. Here, another key idea from Hebrew rises to the surface, the idea of image, or tselem. Humanity was made in the tselem Elohim, the image of God. That is our true identity. But when Revelation speaks about the image of the beast, the background thought is that humans are being pressured to abandon their God-given image and remodel themselves into a different image. In our own time, technology, artificial intelligence, genetic manipulation, and the reshaping of human identity are all pushing us toward a world where the boundaries of what it means to be human are being rewritten. It tempts us to exchange the image of God for another pattern. Did the ancient Hebrew writers see our modern technologies? They didn't see our devices, but the picture they drew lines up in a striking way with the spiritual direction of our age. All of this is not being said to frighten you. In Revelation, even with all the fury and power of the beast, the Lamb still wins. No matter how many times the beast rises, no matter how many schemes the fallen angels launch, the ending has already been written. Christ triumphs. So where does that leave you and me in this time? The first step is repentance. We need to ask, where have we quietly accepted the system of the beast as normal life? Where have we allowed compromise to settle in? The second step is prayer. We must ask God to open our eyes to see beyond the surface, beyond the political headlines and cultural trends, into the spiritual currents behind them. We should pray for discernment, that we won't be swept away in deception. The third step is watchfulness. We need to be awake to this question. Is there anything in today's world that is pulling human beings away from the image of God? Are there systems, habits, and loyalties that slowly reshape our identity away from Christ and towards something else? And now we've come close to a question that only you can answer for your own life. Where do you stand in this prophetic story? Are you knowingly or unknowingly feeding into the system that ultimately leads toward the beast? Or are you aligning yourself with the kingdom whose king is Jesus? There is also another secret, one you may never have truly heard about: 666. In Hebrew thinking, the number 6 is not just a digit, it's also a symbol. It represents humanity, good but incomplete. It falls short of the divine perfection of 7. Repeated 3 times, 666, it becomes the ultimate expression of human effort trying to be God without God. It is humanity in its own strength, attempting to create its own salvation, its own identity, its own destiny, without bowing to the Creator. That is the mark of the beast, the counterfeit of God's seal. God's seal marks people who belong to Him. The beast's mark is a rival seal that marks those who have given their allegiance to a different image, a different system, a different Lord. If this video has opened your eyes even a little to the hidden Hebrew connection between fallen angels and the beast of Revelation, then understand, this story doesn't end here. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into the meaning behind 666 and why it's far more than the number of some ruler from the past. We'll see how it reveals the rebellion in the human heart that wants to be God without God, to be in the image of self instead of the image of Christ. If you want to keep going on this journey and you don't want to stop halfway, then click the next video on your screen. Let's continue uncovering what the Word of God has been saying all along.